All right. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is David Furones. I'm in a great mood because Bitcoin's up to 93,000. So it's just, I'm just in a great mood. So, I expected what I saw today, so the Boston Massacre was no surprise. Were you pleasantly surprised with Ewers early, and then after you're like, well, that's why he's going to battle to be a backup? How did it work out for you today on Quinn Ewers?
No, and I can tell you're in a big mood, good mood, Big O. Quinn Ewers certainly pleasantly surprised early on. It kept the team in the game. They were driving to start the third quarter, which would have tied the game, and then throwing to the end zone. I feel like he was in between two targets. He said he was throwing to Weiss, who was trailing, and then Taj Washington's man read it, came off of him, and was able to intercept it. So that's life in the NFL for him. That's life facing a tough defense and secondary on the road in the NFL. So learning lesson there. And then, again, this team, just when it has something go wrong, then it all falls apart. This was just pretty much exactly like that Bengals game a couple of weeks back. With that one, it was the Theo Weiss penalty that then things just snowballed. The defense stops playing complementary with the offense once something goes wrong, and then Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. So that was the tale of this game. But ultimately, as you know, it's about the bigger picture here. And for Ewers, I mean, a guy who I could see, depending on what the Dolphins do at quarterback going forward, just as a player who should be competing with a fringe level NFL starting quarterback as far as just getting a chance for next season. So depends. I mean, maybe the Dolphins can put themselves in position where they draft a quarterback high in the draft, and then they would look another direction. Who knows who the GM is? So we don't know if they're going to like Quinn Ewers or they're going to be wanting him to find something else. But someone who, if remains consistent, if Mike McDaniel's back, which we still have to find out about, then maybe this next permanent GM could see him as someone who could compete for a starting job. And then I believe Mike McDaniel would see it that way once the team moves on from Tua and probably brings in maybe like a fringe starter level quarterback that might be like a high-end backup that let them compete, Ewers and whoever this other quarterback might be.
Yeah, for me, I'll stick to what I've thought from the get-go, from the offseason, from when they drafted him. I think he's a backup. I think that's kind of his ceiling, but I think he definitely proved that he's good enough to battle for the backup job. I get what you're saying. If you bring in a fringe starter and you have another half-ass, like you draft another kid in the 5th or 6th or 7th round, and then all you have is Ewers and that veteran, then, yeah, you might end up playing Ewers some and get a more experience. But in a perfect world, if you do get a legit starter, I think Ewers would be a guy that would be competing with somebody else to be the backup for me in my eyes. Now, just out of curiosity, did you see the Pelissero report on the whole on the GM search?
I've seen so many reports today. So what specifically?
Sean, if you play Pelissero, will he be able to see it and hear it with no problem? He should be able to, right? Let's you fire it off for him and see.
But he is going to sit in on the interviews here and probably ask certain types of questions that, whether it's Stephen Ross or his son-in-law, Danny Silman, who's involved, Tom Garfinkel, the president, Brandon Shore, who has a significant role in the front office as well, and Dan Marino, who's another Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback who is still employed by the Dolphins. All those guys will be a part of this process as they vet who the right general manager is going to be. What they're looking for in Miami is a scout. They want somebody who is really going to have a vision for how do you build that roster. They got a lot of resources. They have a patient owner. From everyone I've talked to, this is a good job walking into it here, but they want someone whose expertise is in team building. And so what I would anticipate is that the Dolphins move, I think, fairly swiftly through this process. I think they're going to hit the ground running next week. They've obviously got a 2-month head start since firing Chris Greer back on Halloween. The idea of Troy Aikman is not just to allow him to be part of the interview process, but also for him to make sure, okay, it's great to say, hey, we want to pluck somebody from, let's say, San Francisco, but who's the right person to pluck from there? That's where Troy has been involved in this process. And again, I anticipate that this is going to be a process that moves on the relatively quick side.
All right. So what did you read into that on what GM they want?
Oh, you have a specific name in mind? I mean, I agree with what I'm hearing.
I'm asking you to define what he just reported that the Dolphins want in their GM.
Yeah, I would say I agree with what he put out there, which was someone with a background in scouting. I think that's something that you hear around, just asking around. So I would second that.
Okay,
and,
so let's stop
mm-hmm.
right there, because that's my point. That tells me you're just playing human Jenga. You don't really want a general manager. You want a scout. You want. That's what I told Chris Perkins before you came.
Well, I mean, general managers have different backgrounds.
You're going to want like the assistant college director of scouting, because you just want a guy that's happy to draft players for you. I want a general manager. So do you look at Bill Zito as just a scout? Do you look at Pat Riley as just a scout? Because those guys were the general managers of their team.
No, but that's not what he's saying, though. Yeah. I mean, that's the background. He's saying that's the background that they're looking for, is someone with a strong foundation in scouting. So not that they're
– general manager has to have a background in scouting, my brother. That's how they got there. That's automatic. But I need a culture builder. Brandon Shore's job is not guaranteed if you have a real general manager, because like this offseason, what do you think it was the capologist, the Brandon Shore of the Panthers, that had to convince the three guys and their agents to take I think it was $22 million between the three guys, and it was like, oh, there's no way that they'll fit all three guys, and people, yada yada yada, and they ended up doing it. Do you think Bill Zito has to be more than just a scout? He has to be like a psychologist. He has to be a recruiter. He has to be a guy that has to have foresight and understanding this player fits our culture and all those kind of things. And I need this kind of capologist, and I need this in my training staff, and I need this. That's what a real general manager does. He makes sure that the entire process is under him. They're not looking for a guy that is going to run the entire football operations. They're not.
See, I wouldn't read that into what he's saying there. I mean, because general managers have to have a background in some way, shape, or form. So they're saying that's where the emphasis would be, but that's not what this person would currently be. They're looking for someone who has grown from that foundation of scouting into someone who would then rises into like an assistant GM rank, a director of player personnel rank, one of those levels, from maybe originating in scouting. Now, like Chris Greer himself, he started off in scouting and had been with exactly where we are right now, Foxborough, with the Patriots, joined the Dolphins. It was in a scouting role, start of the millennium, 2000, worked his way up through different positions and different roles, ultimately got to the GM rank and having all the say once Mike Tannenbaum was gone. But yeah, I mean, someone who can evaluate talent, and then you have to identify in the interview process who will have all those other traits that you're talking about, that can go sit down with a player, convince someone to take a little bit less money as far as being a salesman does, who can make a pitch and say, okay, this is why coming here is best for you based on X, Y, and Z. And that in a situation where, okay, we don't have as much money as so-and-so is offering, but here's what we can do for you in this situation, and really finding all the pros to whatever you're selling. All those things So you find that you can find that out. You won't find all of it out in the interview process, but you try the best you can to identify those traits once you go through that process. But I mean, I think he's just saying that's the kind of personnel executive that they're looking for.
But that's part of every general manager. They have to have a personnel background. They have final.
Maybe he's not saying much. Maybe he's not saying much with it.
They have final say in all personnel moves, but Miami needs a Blvd. They need the problem that they don't. I think at least this is the way I see it. The part that Stephen Ross doesn't understand is that his entire organization is a disaster, and they need somebody to walk in, and they're the end all be all, and they tell you exactly this is good, that's bad, for everybody's job. You can't change the owner, right? So Danny, Tom Garfinkel, and Stephen Ross are safe. Everybody else shouldn't be safe. Everybody else's ass should be on the line right now. And that's what I would be. I would be looking for somebody to run my entire organization because I don't have the people to do that. And that, to me, the way I understand he broke it down, if you think about this and play the Adam Schefter one. I want you to listen to Adam Schefter now.
Okay.
This is hot seat and all that kind of stuff. Listen to how he talks about the owner and the coach on this one. So it kind of tells you what kind of general manager in a way that they want. Go ahead, Sean.
Conversation about a few coaches in the AFC East. Yeah. Mike McDaniel has been the topic of a lot of conversation all year long.
And we've already seen the Miami Dolphins fire their general manager, bring on Troy Aikman as a consultant and advisor in the GM search, and now we wait to see what happens with Mike McDaniel. The feeling of owners right now is that they prefer to keep him. It doesn't mean that he's going to be safe, but we're leaning safe today. If they were making a decision today, Mike McDaniel is back in 2026, but there are still going to be conversations that occur within this organization that help determine his future. But again, he's a valued offensive mind that has a place, and right now Miami would keep him today.
Okay.
Think about this. He's a valued offensive mind, and today they would keep him. So basically what they're telling you is, well, if Tomlin or Harbaugh land in our lap, well, then we have to give them the keys to the kingdom, and they will do whatever they want with it. But if we're not getting that guy, we're going to go get a guy that is going to work with our guy. And then when you do that, doggy, you limit what you're going to get. You're not going to get the college director of scouting from a team. You're not going to get the pro personnel director of a team. You're not going to get the assistant GM of the team. Why? All those people want a GM job. They want a real GM job, not some kind of pseudo GM that you're kind of just a scout and you don't have control of everything else. You don't have control of your coach. You don't have control of your cap situation and cap people and all that. These are very important things for a general manager to have control over. This sounds to me like they're leaning and they're kind of narrowing what kind of candidates they can get. That's how I'm reading it, my man. You go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, so I mean, this was about the head coach role, whether retaining Mike McDaniel or not. So I would agree as far as that. Like nothing had been determined.
Yeah, I'm bleeding it into the GM decision.
Okay, bleeding it into. Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to explain more.
Just explain how it's bleeding into the GM decision because he's a valued offensive mind. And right now they want to keep him. And if it was made today, they will keep him. Now there could be out there. And that's telling me that unless some amazing name comes down, the guys that are left, they're going to find somebody to work the human Jenga. That's how I read it, bro. So you tell me what you read into this.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. So I don't know how much things would change over 38-10. That was the final score here today, right? 38-10 loss to the Patriots in a game that was meaningless where you didn't have Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. That's more than half of your offensive yards from scrimmage entering today. So with Quinn Ewers starting as a rookie in this environment. So I don't know how much things change over one meaningless game. If that was the lean going in, which I believe is correct, it is the lean, but maybe nothing settled. I asked Mike McDaniel what he feels about his job security, and if there was a conversation with Stephen Ross, which McDaniel, as he has, he did not want to disclose specific details of the conversation, of any conversations, but said he's going into tomorrow, same as he always does. But it kind of read like he wasn't certain if you watch his answer. So maybe he's still waiting in the wings for this ultimate decision. But does it all bleed in? Yeah, maybe it's a situation where, okay, right now, owner and his brass, Stephen Ross, and all his team of executives. When you talk about Silman and Garfinkel and Shore being part of it, and Troy Aikman coming in to offer his lending eye and consult with the organization, then maybe they look at it as, okay, we find a GM first. We see what else comes available with coach, and then maybe whoever that hire is, we will try to find the best hire at GM, and then his opinion on the coach could either play a factor later. Now that would then put the Dolphins deep into the process before starting a head coach search if it went that way, or it's try it out for one season. You come in, this new GM, you come in, see how you can work with Mike McDaniel, and then give it a year if you feel like you can. And maybe it won't be so results based that first year, but it might be more process driven. See what the process is like with these two together. And then that GM may have a greater say in terms of what he wants to do with the coach. Similar to how McDaniel inherited Josh Boyer as defensive coordinator. The organization didn't want to make changes on the defensive side. And then they had a year together. So then Boyer was let go after that year. He went with Vic Fangio for a year, Anthony Weaver after that. Possibly it might work similarly with a GM and head coach if McDaniel indeed is retained, which will be all on pins and needles through the rest of the night, early tomorrow morning, just waiting to see if there is any news, which already did get rolling in Atlanta as the Falcons fired both their coach Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot. So it has begun, Black Monday coming early there.
Yeah, no, they deserve to get fired. I mean, they did a bad job. He's not he's a terrific defensive coordinator. He's got an electric personality. Raheem Morris. What's wrong with that? Sometimes you are what you are. It's a coordinator, and you're a damn good one at that. And there's really no shame at that you're a really good defensive coordinator in the NFL. And he'll get a job in that area at one point or another. So let me ask you, have you changed your thinking at all? Because, at least Chris Perkins says clean house. I say clean house. You still think that there's good to bringing back McDaniel? Because I don't know how you sell that to the fan base. I really don't.
No, that's a hard sell to the fan base. From the beginning, all offseason when we talked about it, I said if it goes awry, then you clean house. Yes, at the foundation of my belief, do I think that? Yes, but I'm also now adjusting, okay, it's what reality might be is, like Schefter was saying, a lean toward McDaniel staying. And then that's just like I heard you ask Perk, how do you sell that to the fan base? And then my answer would be exactly what I tell you, which is something I do believe is that McDaniel would be better in a situation where he's taking something from the ground up, where instead of a win now scenario like the Dolphins were in 2022, like they had back-to-back winning seasons, the last two under Flores, on a roster that was largely kind of void of talent, but then they were bringing in pieces like Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead and then Bradley Chubb at the trade deadline. Instead of that situation as his first go as head coach, I could totally see him being better, just developing a young core, which, remember, this roster has completely been void of between the 22 draft, 23 draft, because it was just so all in. Now that he's got Devon Achane a couple of years ago now, finishing his third season in the NFL, Patrick Paul, who is a building block, didn't have a good game today, but just largely as a whole, I liked his second season in the NFL. The draft class that we just had, I think it shows some promise, along with if there was another draft class to build on. I could just see if McDaniel builds a foundation, it could work for a team. I'm not 100% convinced on it. Like that could be a wrong assessment. It could go terribly, but I could just see, especially for those who interact with him more, then I could just understand where that belief might come from. And that would be the selling point, is a belief in him taking something from the ground up, especially now having the previous coaching experience of honestly failing under the win now scenario, and then now having something that to build on. But I definitely could understand and have believed from the start that if this season went awry, which it did, 7-10, last year was the status quo, right? That was the quote from Stephen Ross's status quo was unacceptable. Well, this was more unacceptable because it's a game behind. You were eliminated with 3 weeks left. So from that standpoint, then yes, he should be gone.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, Welt Rheaume, proud sponsors of this program, 954-966-4646. Over the years, we've had listeners here in South Florida, on the West Coast, and the Gold Coast, in Central Florida. Call Welt Rheaume if you're dealing with bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation. Please call Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume. The consultation is completely free, 954-966-4646. And you know, David, the Danny Silman era is coming to a press conference near you, baby. So, you know, that I think that, you've got Ross in that room for interviewing GMs. You've got Garfinkel. You've got Brandon Shore. You've got Marino with a beer in his hand. And then you got Aikman. But really, the secret weapon is Danny Silman. Danny Silman, baby. Think about that. He married into that position. That's the man right there. That's the guy that you've got to envy right there.
I wish I had that kind of game, like I need to find me a woman who's in a rich family.
An NFL team.
Yeah.
So I'd say, hey, you're co-owner now. You'll be, hang in there. You play fantasy football. Now you'll play it with us now. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, overall. Schefter did say that he expects a quick decision here. I'm just wondering, bro. So by tomorrow, we have the statement from Stephen Ross, and we have to have it before McDaniel has his press conference on Monday, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, which is a later afternoon press conference. So, if we're counting down the hours here tonight while the Sunday night football game is on and we still hear nothing, then it seems like, it was probably like around this time last year, like after the game. I feel like it probably came out
he froze.
as far as we're concerned. So, okay, am I back? Yeah, I was just saying that I think it was probably around this far out from the end of the season, end of the last game, that the statement came out last year. So maybe that point has already passed and we still don't hear the statement. It's not as immediate, as definite as last year. So, we're looking out for it tonight, and then seeing tomorrow morning early on what it is, and then later in the afternoon would be a McDaniel presser as currently scheduled.
I kind of almost expect Anthony Weaver gone, don't you? I kind of expect him to get some interviews, and even that, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a defensive coordinator somewhere else, to be quite honest.
And would you say this in a mutual parting of ways type of thing?
It's a mutual type of thing. I think it'll be coming more from him than anything else. But I think if you're Anthony Weaver, you need to kind of distance yourself from this.
I could see that. I mean, think about the situation that he was thrown into, especially with these secondaries that are just pieced together. Both of these past 2 seasons, very last minute, like the secondary that didn't have any training camp reps in 2024 and then had to go out there and try to play together between Jordan Poyer, Javon Holland, and Jalen Ramsey was still with the team. And this year, Rasul Douglas is signed within 2 weeks, like on roster cutdown day. He's signed, and then he's not starting week 1, but has to get thrown in there when Storm Duck goes down, and then is a start. And Rasul Douglas was actually awesome all year. He was a tremendous pickup. Jack Jones joins during training camp and maybe took his lumps in camp, like the joint practice out there in Detroit against Amon-Ra St. Brown, but ended up piecing together a decent season for he's always put in a tough position with just what he has to work with. This year, the D-line, 3 rookies, so it's about developing them, edge rushing core. He doesn't have Chop Robinson for some games, has Bradley Chubb coming back after missing a full season and gets the most out of him. So, I feel like he did do a lot well with what he was working with, which was a lot that was just pieced together, a tough spot to be in.
He knows that there's cap issues for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know who the GM is coming in. This is not a great place for his resume because of the chaotic situation. You're going to have more chaos. So I would imagine he's going to lose. We had the other coach putting offensive coordinators and offensive staffs because he couldn't build one. Well, this guy can't build a defensive staff because he's going to keep losing his guys. And so I would imagine, my prediction is that Anthony Weaver is somewhere more stable next year. Let's just put it that way. It's going to go that way.
That'd be fair.
That'd
be fair, and that'd be a good thing for him too. Because this was the number 21 scoring defense. I don't know if they went down also. So I know they didn't hit 20 because Bradley Chubb needed it for his incentives to kick in, and that was already done by the time the Patriots scored the second touchdown today. Yeah. But it would, if he was the D coordinator of like a Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's defense is not a good example this year, but a lot of other years, like that kind of just sort of established place where they're consistently strong on that side of the ball. I thought of Baltimore just because of his background there, but that would be a lot better for his resume than to be tied to, if someone says his name in a building, where was he from? He ran Miami's defense. And you're there like, the Dolphins? So why should we bring in the Dolphins defensive coordinator? So I get it.
All right. So finally, the more important stuff, how was the spread for the media at
I thought we would lead off with that, but over here. So now this would be my 5th trip here. They always got the chowder, so the clam chowder out here. It's a given. So I always get one. I always buy one like on the Saturday when I'm here before the game, just like somewhere try out some clam chowder at one of the spots in Boston, and then have it because they have it at the press box every game here. So I always have it here at the press box, and then they had these bourbon steak tips. And then all the sides. So excellent. I started off with some hot chocolate because I wasn't hungry yet when I got in. Came in cold, so some hot chocolate was good.
Are they still the best, or top 3 or whatever in the league when it comes to food?
Yeah, up there. I mean, I'm thinking of like the times I've been to SoFi in LA. They've got a good spread. Let me see, like Allegiant Stadium. I went so long ago, but over there in Vegas, they try to do like this Miami Cuban style themed because the Dolphins were in town, and I don't think they did it right. Then I'm coming from Miami, so I'm not going for the Cuban food that they bring out in Vegas. So so that one wasn't great, but what else is good? I mean, I feel like so I would hear from Marcel Louis-Jacques that Buffalo was always bad, but recently they've really stepped their game up on the press box food. And I feel like those northern teams, like those cold environments, they got to do the food right because, it's just like, right, everyone's bundled up staying in. You got to have the food done correctly. So I feel like just a lot of northern places get it right as far as the media spread.
All right, so one Cuban to another. And listen, I get it, but I'm going to go a little off the beaten path here. I just got to get your vibe from this. Did you watch anything on the NHL yesterday? The whole, the one at the baseball game, whatever is it called? The hockey.
Yeah, Friday night. Yeah, Friday night, the Winter Classic. Yeah, I had it on.
Friday or Saturday, whatever it was, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, definitely Friday. Yeah, because I traveled yesterday, so yeah, and I saw it from home.
Friday, okay. Luis Fonsi and hockey, bro. It doesn't mix, dude. If it was the Marlins and they were, playoffs or something, or some, I can understand the Luis Fonsi thing because you have a lot of Latin guys coming out and all that kind of stuff. The whole thing was really cool. And this is from a Latin guy, and I get it, bro. You're in Miami and all that, and you're placating to the whole Latin culture crap and all yada 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 yada. I thought it was weak sauce, bro. That's just me. Everything else was cool except for the Luis Fonsi part. It didn't. Hockey is something that has an edge, bro.
Yeah, like rock and roll. It's a little bit more hardcore. Yeah. So I get your criticism for sure. Yeah, it didn't mesh well, but I don't hate on, and I don't on the NHL trying to broaden its horizons and open up to a larger, more wide scale audience. So Hispanic audience is definitely one where the NHL would have some room to grow. So I totally understand it as far as the attempt, and especially it's the theme. You're bringing hockey to Little Havana, so I get why it was the choice, but also the Panthers must have been skating Despacito because they did not put on a good performance on that ice that they had manipulated out there outdoors in 60-degree weather, Yeah, I get it as far as it didn't mesh well as far as that musical product with the hockey product.
Yeah, to me, I would have liked something else with a little bit more fun, edgy stuff like that. I think it would have gone a little bit better. With the axe, but whatever, bro. It is what it is. I just thought it was kind of weak sauce. All right, what do you guys?
Would you have gone Latin music, but just something that's not a slower, like that song is called Despacito, which means like slowly. Would you have gone with something that's more like up tempo, like reggaeton type of Latin music to go with the hockey product, or is it just that it was Latin music with hockey?
No, see, the thing is, if I'm going to do it, I would have done like Newfound Glory, a Coral Springs band who's national. They're fun rock. It's kind of like an indie type rock. No, not even indie. It's more punk, like grunge, like I don't know what I would call it, but it has an edge to it. And they're home-based band, Dashboard Confessional is also from here, okay? But no, I probably would have gone with Newfound Glory. Newfound Glory has music that would have gone with hockey and the opening and all that, and they're modern, bro, and they're young. You know what I mean? And I get the whole Luis Fonsi thing, but I think you also alienated a lot of your audience too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Whereas,
but the audience that you already have, and I feel like you could do what you're saying. You could do that any game in Sunrise. You could do that any game at Amarant Bank Arena. But I think they really wanted to dive into this is hockey being brought back to Miami, so Dade County. So I get the attempt, although of course because it's not that kind of great combination yet. They can aspire to be. They can try to dive into the Latin audience and community, but it's not going to always work from the first go at it. So it's an attempt.
I've seen Newfound Glory in concert a couple times. They are awesome, dude. They are fun.
I don't doubt it. I don't.
Do you know anything about Newfound Glory?
Not really. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I might need to find myself this Newfound Glory.
You need to check them out. They're a modern band. I don't know what's Newfound Glory. Maybe 15 years old or something. I don't know. Look it up there, Sean. Tell me Newfound Glory. How long have they been around? They haven't been around very long. I mean, they've got a few albums, 15 years or something like that, and they're a local band, and they're actually really. Sure. Huh?
I've heard the name for sure, but just haven't really, listened. So,
Yeah, you should catch them at one time live. You will definitely love their vibe, and it would go with hockey. That's for damn sure. Anyway, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ Yes, sir, Sean. Oh, the mic would be help if it was on.
Yeah, I went the wrong one. Formed in 1997.
There you go. Actually,
Florida.
holy crap.
They're going on 30. They're going on 30.
Yeah, they formed 97. Did they get like a contract right away in 97, or like when was their first album? When was Newfound Glory's first album? Look at their discography. That's when you count when they have that first album.
Hit or Miss was 1999.
There you go. 26 years, Newfound Glory.
Took a couple years, and then
and they're really good, man. They're really
yeah.
good. 26 years, so they actually must do something right, actually, But anyway, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ What the hell are you working on there with all this mess coming up now?
Yeah, just I've got stories ready to go either way. McDaniel retained, McDaniel let go. Just wrapping up the game coverage tonight, and then it's really just see which way it goes from there. And then once we have that, then kind of can get a better idea on my Monday, my early travel into back into Miami and South Florida, how the coverage is going with an eye on the future. And then all throughout the offseason, I did a bunch of interviews with different players that I'll just be rolling out through the slow times. But the first and foremost will be about all the GM updates. So, we'll have an eye on that.
All right, there you go. David, as always, safe travels, my brother. We will catch up next week.
Sounds good, Big O. Thank you.
You got it. There you go. The great David Furones. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and support. If you're looking for lawyers you can count on, I saw them crush Progressive for us when we had some idiot kids think that they're fast and furious, and they went right through the wall of our house. 954-966-4646. If unfortunately you're dealing with bankruptcy, which could happen to any of us, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, call them 954-966-4646.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.